I'm sure you'll never forget me for life just because of that name. You never have to ask this question, what's this guy's last name? So when I was in school and college, I was literally ragged to death because of my name. They called me John Square, John to the power of 2, King John II, John the Baptist. One guy called me John Kills John also. That was okay till I went to college, and when one fellow called me Con J Con. Can you imagine guys like that? I mean, so I grew up with quite difficult names in school, but what I want to share in the next few minutes that I have is the testimony of how the goodness of God is. The reason why I want to start with my name is because my dad is also John K. John. You know where I'm going with this, okay? The government of India got so confused that they gave both of us the same PAN ID numbers. Can you imagine a problem with that? Right, so I'm actually waiting to file my Form 16 now. It's going to be trouble again because I'm going to see in my Form 16 lakhs and lakhs of rupees which are not mine. And I didn't know this when I went to my CA last time. She said, you got lakhs and lakhs of rupees. I said, I can't because whatever income I get in Reliance gets taxed at source. So whatever you're seeing there is not my income. Until God suddenly opened my eyes and said, oh, that should be Dad's. Then I started praying, Dad, put some more. Because at some point in time, it's going to come to me. But I have this problem in our house. So one of the questions that I grew up back in school is, John, okay, your name is John K. John, but what happens if you have a son? Would you call him John K. John K. John? Will it be John Cube, John to the power of 3, King John III? What will that name be? So I looked at the guys and said, guys, relax, I'm still only in school. Let me see if there's one man who's willing to give his daughter in marriage to me. Let me see if that girl will say yes. Let's see if we get married and if we have children. Then I'll call you guys and let you know what my son's name is going to be. As time went by, one man decided to give his daughter in marriage to me. That girl said yes. In fact, both of them are regretting that decision. No, I'm just kidding. Now, I'm just going to hope that what stays in this room just stays here only. Whatever is spoken will not go out. Even if you meet my wife, I didn't make this statement. All right? But we have 3 children. My oldest is a son. And when he was born in God's own country, what do you think was my first looming question over my head? What will I call him? Correct? By then I had decided the names, but I was so excited because he was my first son, first child. So I called all my friends and said, hey, I've become a dad, and everybody was happy. They were congratulating me. One fellow had the audacity to remember that question. And in fact, he didn't even ask me what's going to be the son's name. He said, John, congratulations. Let's call your son Johnson. I said, man, not bad. You're thinking good for me. I like the name Johnson. It's not going to be my son's name. But by then I had decided to call him Jonathan because, I had to change my son's name because of the problem that I have with my dad and the name and all that. So I thought all was taken care of. I was in an appraisal discussion with my boss in HCL, and he was sitting up opposite me, and he made this statement, very strange statement. He said, John, I don't know what to do with global training. At that point in time, he was the head of global training for HCL Technologies, and he asked me this question. So I looked at him and said, Anand, do you think I can help you in some way? He looked back at me and said, John, are you serious? I said, I am serious. And within 2 months, he goes back to Noida. He starts processing my papers for the move from India to US. And within 2 months, me and my family are flying out from Bangalore to the United States of America. So I go into New Jersey, and I send my children to school. At that point in time, only 2 of them went to school initially, Jonathan and Rachel. And one day, Jonathan comes all excited back from school. And he looks at me and said, Dad, you know what? I said, what? You know what's my name in school? I said, should be Jonathan. He said, no, Papa, it's John. I said, say that again. How did that happen? Then he said, no, Papa, the short form of the name Jonathan is John. I said, this is exactly the problem that I didn't want to get into. But imagine if somebody in the US calls me on the phone and says, can I speak to John? Which John? Tall, short, dark, handsome, grandfather, grandson? Who do you want to speak to? By the time you clarify that, the call is going nuts. But thankfully, we didn't stay in the US for too long. We just were there for under 2 years. But I want to talk to you about how the grace of God. Now, the reason why I talked so much about my name is because you got to know what the meaning of your name is. God is gracious. Can you imagine? I have John K. John. Double grace. Grace upon grace. That's what I have. And I've seen this happen in my life over and over and over again. And I was such a bright student that I helped everybody attain their number 1, number 2 positions in class. Some of you will get it over lunch. So in 5th standard, I was studying in a school where in the 5th standard, you had to move out of school because 6th upwards, it's only for girls. And now I started applying to other schools for admission. And at that point of time, I was studying in Chennai. The only school at that point of time that I could write an exam was to get into Madras Christian College school. And I wrote my exams for, I think, 6 papers. And when the results came, I failed in 5. I still remember that uncle who had, found out about my results telling my dad how impossible it is for him to even push my papers to get an admission. I still won't forget the face of my father when he heard that I failed in 5. But he said no word. He didn't say a thing. He just looked at me, glanced over. It was forgotten. But he knew he had to put his son somewhere for 6th standard. And so, even as the family was contemplating what to do, God brings in this woman out of nowhere. She gets friendly with my mom in a Bible study or some stuff like that. And my mom started talking to her about this whole thing about admissions. And she said, "Why are you worried? I'm a history teacher in this school. Ask him to come and see us." And I go and see this lady. She takes me to the principal. She says, "A good friend of mine's son, can you give an admission in the school?" The principal said, "Okay." And I get to study in one of the best schools in Chennai, Asan Memorial. If any MC since you're here, sorry. I don't think they'll get that joke. Anyway, so I studied in Asan. And I was studying in Asan, and I was a great student, helping everybody achieve their goals. And I finished from my 6th to the 10th standard. I come to 10th standard. I do so well that I don't even have the possibility of getting admission in the 11th. And the same auntie, who's a teacher, history teacher, God brings her again in my life. She goes to the principal and says, "Can't let this guy go. He's been a good student. Give him admission in any of the branches." He said, "Okay, take commerce." And I take commerce, and I study commerce for the next 2 years. And again, I did so well in my 12th standard. By now, you know what kind of a guy I am. I study so well in my 12th standard. I can't even show my mark list to my own dad and mom because it's so good. And so I am now saying, "Oh Lord, with these kind of marks, what am I going to do?" And then the beauty of beauties is God brings in a HR manager. At that point in time, my dad was working for MRF, Madras Rubber Factory, and he brings in a HR manager to work with him. They're standing and having a conversation over lunch, and my dad looks at him and says, "Mr. Albert, I don't know what to do. My son, he's got this 12th standard results. It's so bad, and I don't know what to do." And this gentleman, Mr. Loyola, he looks at my dad and says, "Don't worry, just ask him to come and see me with the mark list." He comes, I go to his house, he takes me along with him to the best college in Chennai, which is Loyola College, gets me an admission for BA Economics. And I get to study in Loyola College with, I'll tell you the marks that I got, 33%, 33 or 35% in all of the aggregates of those subjects that I did. And I get to study in Loyola College for the next 3 years. And I finish Loyola College, and then I get an admission for MA Economics. And I'm sitting in MA Economics, and I say, "What is happening? Microeconomics, macroeconomics, it's all going over my head." And I said, "This is not what I want to do. I don't want to do economics." And as I'm sitting there, God shows a vision of a building. And I see this vision. It's like one building in front of me, and I have no idea what it is. I have no idea. And then someone in my conversation with the person talked about, "Hey, John, you should be probably going and doing some social work. You should look at personal management. You should look at HR as an option." I said, "Okay, let me go and look at the option." And I went looking for this college. It was called Madras School of Social Work, which is based in Egmore. I go to that college. I turn into the college, and I see the building. It's the same building God showed me in the vision. I said, "Wow, this is wonderful." And I studied there for the next 2 years. And then I start working in HR. Started initially in a hospital, then went into an engineering firm. That engineering firm sent me to Mumbai. I went into a place called Mazagon Dock. Have you heard of Mazagon Dock? These are guys who build ships in India. And I go and to work amongst them. I'll have to start talking to people who in a language that I had no idea. I had to talk Marathi. I didn't even know how to talk Tamil properly, forget Marathi. I stayed there for 3 days, ran away from there. I said, thank you. See you later, alligator. I can't work with you guys. I ran away, didn't go back to that engineering firm. Now I'm jobless. Don't have a job. And my father and mother saying, what is this guy is, he's don't have a job, he's sitting at home. And as we're contemplating what to do, God brings in another lady. She comes out of nowhere and she says, okay, John, just make a profile for me. Make me a CV. And she takes my CV. The next thing she says, John, you have an interview. You have an interview. You need to go and meet the head of HR for this company called Bro.John Express. And I go for this interview and I'm sitting there and I don't know what even to say. And then they ask me some questions. They're very friendly. I'm wondering, why are they so friendly? They don't know me from Adam. And they're so friendly, they're talking John. And I thought, maybe they knew me, last birth or something like that. How are they so friendly to a guy that they haven't met before? And they say, okay, John, we'll get back to you. We are meeting other candidates. And promptly after a day, they call me and say, you got the job. I said, are you kidding me? I got the job? And then I got the secret much later. They, see the way God works. The regional head of Bro.John Express, Mr. S.M. Menon, his wife were very good friends of my grandparents in Coimbatore. I didn't know anything. God is doing all this in the background. I didn't know anything. So when my CV went into Bro.John Express, they went and checked. We've got interviews to come, and this gentleman, S.M. Menon, looked at it and said, John, that sounds familiar. And he went and checked home who this guy is, and his wife confirmed this is the guy. So what he did was, he put in a word to the HR guys. Take a look at him. If he's okay, recruit the guy. And what will the HR guy want to do to make sure that they don't surprise this senior guy in the system? They said, let's take John. Can you see? Grace upon grace upon grace. I wonder if you know the meaning of your name. I wonder if you're sitting here and you have no clue why your parents called you that name. Go and check with your parents if they're alive and ask them, why did you call me that name? I want to know why, and live that name. And I can tell you, every time I had a difficulty in my life, I'll see the hand of God somehow come and pick me up from that difficulty and get me out of the mess that I'm in. That's the same thing that happened. After Bro.John, I got a job in the IT world. That is also a phenomenal miracle. From there, I'll tell you something that happened. From the IT world, my manager at that point of time working for ANZ, information technology, made my life literally miserable. He treated me like a slave, made me do things that no manager should be able to do to anybody, even the worst people that you want to do. You won't want to do that. And so I got fed up one day. I went into his cabin, threw my resignation letter and said, I'm going. I had no other job in my hand. I had a mortgage, I had a loan on my head for my flat, I had my wife and 3 children to feed. I had no idea how I was going to even support the whole family. I just left. I couldn't take it anymore. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I was without a job, a good job, for 2.5 years. I didn't have a job. But that 2.5 years, ladies and gentlemen, is the time I got rooted in the Word of God. Is the time I spent time in the presence of God. Is the time I would worship God. Is the time I would pray to God. Every morning, every evening, I would spend hours in the presence of God, because I knew I had nothing else to do but to wait in the presence of God. And sometimes God takes you through tough situations so that He can make you stronger to face the issues of life that's coming later on. And you may ask this question to God and say, God, why am I going through what I'm going through right now? Everybody is being blessed. Everybody is getting a job. Everybody is getting that. Let me tell you, He will never do something without a purpose. When He gets you to go through something in life, He does it with purpose. And I was rooted in the Word of God at that point of time. And let me say something quickly. And I was praying to God, saying, God, I need a job. I need to support my house. I'm running out of bank balance. There's nothing in my bank that I can have. And then what happens is, something happens. At that point of time, we moved from the mainline church to a Pentecostal church. And in that Pentecostal church, there was a man of God who was coming. He was a prophet. And they called me on the phone and says, Prophet Anin Kunjayan is here. Would you want to come and pray with him? I said, yes, I want to come and pray with him. So I go with my wife. He's in a small room. I go in and he starts praying. He starts praying over my life. And suddenly out of the prayer he said, I will see you in the US shortly. I was shocked. I will see you in the US shortly. What US? I don't even know where that is. I will see you in the US shortly. And he said one more thing. I know you're praying. By the end of this year, somebody known to you will call you on a job that excites you. Take it. That's all he told me. That was in the month of, I think, April, May of that year, 2005. September 2005, I get a phone call on my cell phone. And this is somebody that I know. And probably most of you also know him. His name is Anand Pillai. And most of you in the corporate world will know who Anand Pillai is. Anand Pillai calls me on the phone. He said, John, I've just become the head of talent and training for HCL. I'm looking for people in Bangalore. Would you like to join my team? What do you think I was going to do? I say, yes, Anand, I'm ready. And he gets me to join HCL Technologies even without an interview. Can you imagine? 2.5 years, I had no job. 2.5 years, my confidence was absolutely down. 2.5 years, I didn't know what to tell an interviewer. What's the break in between? Can you explain your break? What did you do during the break? I know I did some business. I kept training and got some money and all that is fine. I had no confidence to face an interview. And God understood my heart. God saw my heart. And it gets to meet with this person and he gives me an offer letter even without an interview. That's the God that you and I worship. A God who understands your sorrows, a God who sees your pain, a God who knows what you go through, and he can come through in ways that will make you stand in awe of him. And so I got that, and then Anand moved from HCL to Reliance, and then he goes to Bombay and he says, John, come, I need you. And then I go to Reliance. And he left in 2015, but thankfully I still continue with Reliance there, in this organization. But let me tell you something with regards to careers. The way God is just awesome. I was in HR and I loved HR. I loved connecting with people. But at some point of time, my HR role started becoming very, very paper-based routine. I started disconnecting with people. Became more of operations, and I hated it. I couldn't do paperwork, Excel sheet. You give me an Excel sheet, you will see my dead body pretty soon. I hate Excel sheets. I know some of you love Excel sheets, but I hate Excel sheets. I need to connect with people. I need to relate to people. I need to crack jokes with people. That excites me. So what I would do is, in my calendar, if I have a half a day open, I would get 20 people from Blue Dart into a conference room and I'll start talking to them on customer service. I'll start talking to them on leadership. I'll start talking to them on some issue, on some topic of management. And what God was doing, it was slowly taking me into moving out of HR operations into learning and development. And that's what I did. In 2005, or rather 2003, slowly from HR, I started moving out. And I started looking for opportunities in the learning function. So when Anand called me in 2005, he was looking for a learning guy in Bangalore. And God had already prepared me, right? And after that, it's history. The next few years, I've been in the learning space, and I love standing and talking to people and impacting people in their thought life. And that's what I do. So coming back to in terms of how God can use you is sometimes you may find it difficult to see how God is taking you through a journey, but let him do it, because when he does it beautifully, right? I used to be such a shy guy when I was young. Never go to the stage, never. If anybody calls me on stage, I'll push the guy next to me. You go. I would never go up, but I had the gift of singing. So if somebody calls me to sing, I can't push anybody. I might as well go. So I would come to the front to sing. So singing was a gift that came naturally to me. Even if you call in the middle of the night and say, John, sing, I can sing. Not a problem. But one day, some of you may know Ashok Vedanayagam is the head of the team called Navodaya team, working with French Mystery Prayer Band. Right now, he's head of Shishya. He was my spiritual mentor. And I was part of the Navodaya team. He looked at me and said, Bijoy, next week we're going to this college. We have decided that we'll not just sing a song, but before singing the song, you'll say something about the song and then sing the song. I told him, say that again. So he repeated it. He said, yes. You will not sing without saying something about the song. The minute that was a Tuesday, the minute I heard that, my knees started knocking, my throat started drying up, I started panicking. I said, what will I say about the song? You tell me to sing, I can sing because it comes naturally to me. But then he pushed me in the deep end. And that Saturday, I remember, that was the most toughest Saturday in my life, because I had to think of something to say about the song. And then I said, but God pushed me. And I thank God for people like Ashokana who pushed you, because he was following what God wanted to do in my life. And because he did that, 2005, for all the glory of God, I could stand in front of millions of people in the program of Benny Hinn. When Benny Hinn came to India, I stood in front of 1 million people to sing songs for the glory of God. Why? Because by then, I had the confidence to stand in front of audience, talk, sing, do whatever, because somebody pushed me in the deep end. And sometimes God will use somebody to push you out of your comfort zone. And when you're out of your comfort zone, you will not feel comfortable. But remember, God is with you to push you to doing something good. Some of us are so comfortable where we are that we are not growing. The only way you can grow is go out of your comfort zone to another zone called the courage zone. In the courage zone, God will give you the grace to move on. If you become too comfortable, you will just do what you're doing. And so, in both HCL and in Reliance, God gave me the platform like this, So if a training room will be like this, I'll be standing and talking to people. I could impact them on anything on thought leadership. And for us as believers, we made sure that we'll speak on God, we'll speak on the principles of God, and we could talk to people on those subjects without bringing Jesus. Of course, you can't say Jesus and stuff like that, but you can certainly bring God, because everybody believes in God. But we bring the Bible in such a way that it's non-threatening. We bring the principles of the Word of God. One of my favorite, I'm very big on video case studies. I train people on case studies based on a video. One of my favorite video case studies is the life of a man called Eric Liddell. And I think all of you know that. If you've not seen the movie Chariots of Fire, please go and see it tonight. It's a movie about a man who decided never to run a race on a Sunday. And his Olympic gold medal race fell on a Sunday. You know what he did? He said, I can't run. And God honored him. Right? And I show movies like that and challenge people and saying, this is what he did, right? And so the platform that God has given us, I'm so blessed that I can stand and talk and encourage and motivate and challenge people to live right. One of the things that in Reliance I was responsible for was values and behaviors. How to live with values, how to live with good behaviors. They're all biblical based stuff. So God was just giving us the platform and said, do it. And we did it. And so I'm so thankful that, God has given us, at least given me, the opportunity to impact people at the thought level, because for leaders, that's what is important, right? Very important. One of the other movies, and I'll stop with that, one of the other movies that has challenged me big time, and every time I show that movie, I cry myself, is the movie Invictus. It's about the life of Nelson Mandela. 27 years in prison. He comes out of prison, and his number one statement is, forgive, forget, let's build a nation. And the sad thing is, Nelson Mandela did not know Jesus Christ. He was not a Christian, within quotes. But he was talking stuff that even believers will find it difficult. Forget, forgive, let's build a nation. He used the rugby tournament to build in 1995 the nation of South Africa that we all know that is what is today. It's a powerful movie on leadership, very powerful. And when I see that, I cry and say, wow, if this man could impact people so much, how much more should a Christian impact people? Because we know the truth, and it's the truth that sets people free. So in your place where you are, see how you can, whatever little that you can do, stand up for Jesus, talk about Jesus. You can't openly talk in our offices now, but show it in your behavior. Show it the way you treat other people. Show it the way how you manage a boss. There's so many opportunities to show Jesus Christ to others without talking Jesus. 2 prayers. When I joined Reliance, number one problem was we were working 6 days a week. We started praying, Lord, can't work 6 days, make it 5 days, make it 5 days. In a matter of 1.5 years, we got that. We got it working to 5 days a week. People from British Petroleum came. They came and looked at the whole scenario. In fact, actually, now the truth is, Geo were the responsible people for us to get 5-day work week, because they were having a challenge of getting people working for Geo if it was a 6-day. People said, if it's 6 day, we're not coming to join you. You can pay me whatever, but I've got a job which is giving me 5 day. I'm not going to come for the 6th day. And Geo was the one who came with a policy saying change it, and they changed it not only for Geo, but also for us, the other business. So God answered our prayer. The second prayer that we wanted was, Lord, we want non-vegetarian. We can't eat vegetarian food. We can't eat vegetarian every day, Lord. We need non-vegetarian. We kept praying and praying. One day, we got to know that one tower was dedicated for non-vegetarian. Now that's the God that you and I worship. He listens to our prayer. However small that prayer is, He will listen to you, give you the answer. But you need to continue to pray. Continue to pray. I'm thankful that I have other believers like Sam, and we have 5-6 people who come regularly on the prayer, but a lot of other Christians also in the team. So we do stuff. We worship during Christmas. We do carols during Christmas. A lot of stuff, good fun, to showcase Jesus Christ to the rest of the world. And I'm happy in the role that God has given me. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm so glad that I came to this church. Love the worship, love the word that Pastor spoke this morning, just now. And I can sense the presence of God here, in the sense that that's what is needed in churches. I'm sure that'll be something that everyone will experience in this church. So thank you so much.